Well, a huge sigh of relief went up this week with word that the U.S. Navy SEALs had located and killed Osama bin Laden in Pakistan.
And with the man believed to be the mastermind behind the 9/11 attacks dead, the fear now is that there will be retaliation from al-Qaeda, and that's why we invited in New Mexico's Homeland Security and Emergency Management Cabinet Secretary, Michael Duvall. Welcome.
Yes,
Thank
welcome,
you.
Michael. Thanks for being here.
My pleasure. Thank you.
What a week. First of all, you've only been on the job for a few months now.
Right.
So I can only imagine the developments of this past week, what that has done for you and for your entire team.
Well, it's been a busy time, and really in just a few months we've been in the job. We have the winter freeze, we certainly have the wildfires we're dealing with from an emergency management perspective, and now from a Homeland Security perspective this week did heighten the job awareness.
Oh, I bet.
You guys have to deal with so much, and I've worked with you guys a lot as far as weather's concerned, but as far as security here, so what are you guys doing right now to kind of take the extra precautions?
Well, what we're doing is we're staying in close touch with federal agencies, FBI, Department of Homeland Security, making sure all the information they have, we have, and then we look at it from a New Mexico perspective. We make sure that any threats to our state that could materialize we're aware of and prepared for. And right now there are no specific threats, but there is an overall heightened awareness of what could happen because of the unknown with regard to retaliatory strikes.
Well, and so important because we have to always be prepared. You just never know.
That's correct.
If you could, would you explain what NTAS is, what that means?
Yes, that's the National Terrorism Alert System. The Department of Homeland Security used to use a color-coded system. Most people are familiar with that. We'd have a color, it wouldn't change, and we found that a lot of folks really weren't sure what that meant.
You're absolutely
The new system that we just instituted involves specific warnings for specific threats. It may only apply to a sector, so if there's a threat against the hotel industry, the alert would be against that sector. The other thing they've done is, in addition to making the alerts more specific, they're putting end dates on them, so it's not an open-ended type of alert, so we know when that threat may have subsided or passed.
Kind of like a weather watch, right, Kristen? Because when you have those severe weather watches, you get a time frame, but we didn't have those with the Homeland Security alerts.
No, and that's
before.
a great analogy of what the new terror alert system does, and that's run by the Department of Homeland Security.
Now, I don't know if you can answer this or not, but what do you guys prepare for as far as a terrorist threat here? What are the threats? What do we have to worry about? Can you discuss that at all?
I can a little bit in general. Certainly with the killing of bin Laden, done by the military, we suspect that maybe military targets would be something that terrorists might like to attack out of retaliation. So the Department of Defense increased their force protection condition at bases all over the world, but that included the bases here, Kirtland, Cannon, and Holloman in Alamogordo. So we increased their law enforcement's on a bit of a heightened alert. So when we get tips or receive information, we always take it seriously, but I think there's a bit more of a sense of urgency in what those tips may be. Large gatherings, we're always concerned about that, but that's another thing we need to keep an eye on.
And with Memorial Day around the corner, I mean, I always think about these things. I think, you know, this is, when we have a day that's of celebration for our country, I always wonder and I always fear that that would be a target day. So is there any more concerns, especially with Memorial Day coming?
I don't think Memorial Day specifically is any more threat than anything else, but holidays would certainly be. I know we had some activity around Christmas time this past year with parades and possible bombings that were thwarted. So I think the intelligence right now doesn't point to anything specific. So a lot of what we're protecting against is what we feel would be logical targets, whether it's airplanes. Certainly the Transportation Security Administration has ramped up their security bases, as I've mentioned.
Well, what's the #1 thing you want to impress on people that are watching right now?
I would impress on people that most terrorist-type activities are uncovered from people who report suspicious activity. It's a combination of intelligence, law enforcement, and people. The student in Texas who was arrested for planning a bombing attack, the tip came from the owner of a chemical company who just didn't feel right with the exchange he was doing with this person. He reported that, and the intelligence flowed, and he was arrested. So if something suspicious is going on, I recommend people report it. They can call 911 if it's urgent.
Okay.
They can call their non-emergency law enforcement number that many cities and municipalities have.
Okay.
And on our website at New Mexico Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Management, we have a form where you can also report suspicious activity. We make sure the right folks are aware of that.
Great.
And then investigate it.
Great. And of course, that information of how you can contact Homeland Security and Emergency Management is currently on the screen. So I would say write it down. It's a good one to have, right, Kristen?
Yeah, absolutely. And now there's a family emergency preparedness guide that you guys have as well.
In addition to Homeland Security and the place on our website where you can report suspicious activity, we also have all types of materials for planning for emergencies. And those emergencies can be the natural New Mexico disasters, flooding and fire specifically, or man-made type disasters, whether it's a major crash on the interstate or other types of things that could affect communities. But all that type of information, including our family preparedness guide, is on that website.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Lots of good information there, and I feel a little bit better about
it. I do. The
now.
lessons learned, be aware and be prepared, and we really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for being with us today.
My pleasure.
Now, it is the 5th of May, and we will tell you why that date is significant in One Culture. It's coming up after the break.